Right now, as you're watching this, you're probably doing one of three things. You're either procrastinating on something important, you're frantically trying to catch up on your endless to-do list, or you're desperately searching for the magic productivity hack that's going to finally give you control over your time. Here's the brutal truth: you've been lied to. Every productivity guru, every time management expert, every YouTube channel telling you to wake up at 5 a.m. and follow their 47-step morning routine. They're all missing the fundamental principle that actually governs time. I'm about to share with you the only time management strategy you will ever need. Not another app, not another system, not another hack. This is the psychological and mathematical foundation that every truly successful person operates from, whether they realize it or not. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why 99% of people fail at time management, why all those productivity systems you've tried haven't worked, and how to implement the one strategy that will transform not just your productivity, but your entire life. But first, let me tell you a story that will change how you think about time forever. There was a billionaire who was asked in an interview, "What's the difference between someone who makes $50,000 a year and someone who makes $50 million a year?" His answer was shocking in its simplicity. The $50,000 person thinks in terms of time. The $50 million person thinks in terms of value. Think about that for a moment. The person making $50,000 is constantly thinking, "I need to manage my time better. I need to be more efficient. I need to squeeze more hours out of my day." The person making $50 million is thinking, "What activities create the most value? What should I stop doing entirely? What can I eliminate, delegate, or optimize?" This is the fundamental shift that changes everything. And it's based on a principle that most people never learn because they're too busy trying to manage their time instead of understanding what time actually is. The lie about time management. Here's what every time management system gets wrong. They treat all time as equal. They assume that being busy equals being productive. They focus on doing more things instead of doing the right things. But here's the reality. Time is not equal. 1 hour spent on the right activity can be worth more than 40 hours spent on the wrong activities. One decision can save you years of effort. One conversation can change your entire trajectory. Let me give you a concrete example. I know someone who spent 3 years trying to build a business the hard way, creating content, building an audience, developing products. 3 years of 60-hour weeks, constant stress, minimal results. Then he had one conversation with the right person. One conversation that led to a partnership that generated more income in 6 months than he had made in the previous 3 years combined. Was that conversation lucky? No. It was the result of understanding value-based time allocation versus task-based time management. The mathematical truth about productivity. Here's the mathematical reality that will blow your mind. In any given week, roughly 80% of your results come from 20% of your activities. But here's what's even more shocking. 80% of your problems come from 20% of your activities too. This means that in a typical week, you have activities that are massive value creators, activities that are value neutral, and activities that are actually destroying value in your life. Most people spend their time optimizing the wrong 80%. They're trying to be more efficient at activities that shouldn't exist in the first place. Let me break this down with real numbers. If you work 40 hours a week, approximately 8 hours are creating most of your results. Another 8 hours are actively making your life worse. And 24 hours are just there. What if, instead of trying to optimize all 40 hours, you focused on identifying and maximizing those 8 high-value hours while eliminating the 8 destructive hours? Your productivity wouldn't improve by 10% or 20%. It would improve by 500% or more. The only strategy you need. So what is the strategy? It's called value-based time allocation, and it's built on 3 simple principles that create exponential results. Principle 1. Identify your value multipliers. Value multipliers are activities that create disproportionate returns. They're not necessarily the most urgent or the most obvious, but they're the activities that compound over time. For most people, value multipliers include having difficult conversations that solve problems permanently, learning skills that increase your earning potential, building relationships with people who can accelerate your goals, creating systems that work without your constant input. The key is to identify your personal value multipliers, the activities that, when you do them, Create results that keep generating value long after you finish the work. Principle 2. Eliminate your value destroyers. Value destroyers are activities that actively make your life worse. They don't just waste time. They create problems, stress, and complications that require even more time to fix. Common value destroyers include saying yes to commitments that don't align with your goals, engaging in conflicts that can't be resolved, maintaining relationships that drain your energy, working on projects that have no clear path to completion. Most people try to manage their value destroyers. They try to make them more efficient or less painful. But the only winning move is not to play. Elimination is the highest form of optimization. Principle 3. Automate or delegate your value-neutral activities. Value-neutral activities are necessary, but don't require your unique talents or attention. They need to be done, but they don't need to be done by you. This includes most administrative tasks, routine communications, standard procedures, and maintenance activities. The goal isn't to eliminate these entirely, but to remove them from your personal time allocation. The implementation system. Here's how you implement this strategy, step by step. Week 1, the audit. For 7 days, track everything you do in 30-minute blocks. But don't just track what you do. Track the value created by each activity. Use a simple scale, +2 for high value, +1 for moderate value, 0 for neutral, -1 for low negative value, -2 for high negative value. Most people are shocked by what they discover. They're spending 30 to 40 hours a week on activities that create 0 or negative value. Week 2, the elimination. Identify your -2 and -1 activities. These are your value destroyers. Your goal is to eliminate as many of these as possible. Not optimize them, not make them more efficient. Eliminate them entirely. Cancel unnecessary meetings. End relationships that drain you. Stop projects that aren't going anywhere. Quit commitments that don't serve your goals. This is where most people fail, because elimination feels like giving up. But elimination is the foundation of exponential productivity. Week 3, the amplification. Now identify your +2 activities, your value multipliers. These are the activities that create disproportionate results. Your goal is to increase the time you spend on these activities by at least 200%. This means saying no to good opportunities so you can say yes to great ones. It means protecting your high-value time, like your life depends on it. Week 4, the optimization. Finally, look at your 0 and +1 activities. These are your value-neutral and moderate value activities. Your goal is to automate, delegate, or systematize as many of these as possible. Hire people to do what you shouldn't be doing. Create systems that handle routine tasks. Use technology to automate repetitive processes. The psychology behind why this works. Here's why this strategy works when everything else fails. It aligns with how your brain actually functions. Your brain has 2 modes: focused attention and diffuse attention. Focused attention is limited and depletes throughout the day. Diffuse attention is unlimited but can't be directed. Most productivity systems try to optimize focused attention. They try to help you focus longer, focus harder, focus more efficiently. But they ignore the fact that your brain's focused attention is finite. Value-based time allocation works because it recognizes that you only have a limited amount of high-quality attention each day. Instead of trying to increase that attention, it focuses that attention on activities that create exponential returns. When you eliminate value destroyers, you're not just saving time, you're preserving cognitive energy. When you amplify value multipliers, you're not just being more productive, you're creating compound returns that build over time. The compound effect. Here's where this gets really powerful. The effects of value-based time allocation compound over time. In month 1, you might see a 50% improvement in your results. In month 3, you might see a 200% improvement. In year 1, you might see a 1,000% improvement. This happens because value multipliers create results that create more results. The relationship you build this month leads to the opportunity you get next month. The skill you develop this quarter increases your earning potential for the next decade. Meanwhile, eliminating value destroyers doesn't just save you time this week. It prevents the problems that would have consumed your time next week, next month, next year. The advanced applications. Once you master the basic system, there are advanced applications that can create even more dramatic results. Time stacking, combining multiple value multipliers into single activities. For example, having important conversations while exercising or learning new skills while commuting. Value arbitrage, identifying activities that are high value for you but low cost to outsource. For example, if your time is worth $100 per hour, any task that can be outsourced for less than $100 per hour should be delegated. Temporal leverage, using small amounts of time to create large amounts of future time. For example, spending 30 minutes creating a system that saves you 30 minutes every week for the next year. The mindset shift. The biggest barrier to implementing this strategy isn't tactical, it's psychological. Most people are addicted to being busy. They equate movement with progress, activity with achievement. But business isn't productivity. Productivity isn't results. Results aren't value. You can be incredibly busy and create no value. You can be highly productive at the wrong activities and actually move backwards. You can achieve results that don't matter. The shift from time management to value allocation requires you to think differently about success, progress, and work itself. Success isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters. Progress isn't about constant activity. It's about consistent movement toward meaningful goals. Work isn't about filling time. It's about creating value. The long-term vision. Imagine your life 1 year from now if you implemented this strategy perfectly. You're spending 80% of your working time on activities that create exponential value. You've eliminated the sources of stress and complications in your life. You've automated or delegated everything that doesn't require your unique talents. How would that feel? How would that change your stress levels, your income, your relationships, your sense of fulfillment? Now imagine 5 years from now. The compound effects of consistently focusing on value multipliers while eliminating value destroyers. The relationships you've built, the skills you've developed, the systems you've created. This isn't fantasy. This is the inevitable result of aligning your time allocation with value creation. The implementation challenge. Here's what I want you to do right now, before you watch another video or read another article about productivity. Take out a piece of paper and write down everything you did yesterday. Everything. Every meeting, every conversation, every task, every break, every distraction. Now, next to each activity, write down the value it created. Be honest. Be brutal. Use the scale I mentioned. +2 for high value, +1 for moderate value, 0 for neutral, -1 for low negative value, -2 for high negative value. Add up your score. If you're like most people, you'll be shocked by how much time you spend on negative or neutral value activities. This is your baseline. This is where you are right now. Now, identify the 3 activities that scored +2. These are your value multipliers. How can you do more of these? Identify the 3 activities that scored -2 or -1. These are your value destroyers. How can you eliminate these entirely? This simple exercise will give you more clarity about your time allocation than any productivity app or system. The deeper truth. Here's the deeper truth about time management. Time is the only resource you can't create more of. Every minute you spend on a low-value activity is a minute you can't spend on a high-value activity. But here's what's even more profound. The activities you choose to spend your time on literally create who you become. If you spend your time on value-creating activities, you become a value-creating person. If you spend your time on value-destroying activities, you become a value-destroying person. Your time allocation isn't just about productivity. It's about identity. It's about who you are and who you're becoming. The final paradigm shift. The ultimate realization is this. You don't manage time. Time manages itself. What you manage is value. What you manage is attention. What you manage is energy. When you shift from trying to manage time to trying to create value, everything changes. You stop asking, how can I do this faster? And start asking, should I be doing this at all? You stop trying to fit more into your day and start trying to fit more value into your life. You stop being busy and start being effective. You stop managing time and start creating value. And when you create more value, time becomes abundant. When you eliminate value destroyers, stress becomes minimal. When you amplify value multipliers, results become exponential. This is the only time management strategy you will ever need because it's not about time management at all. It's about value creation. It's about life design. It's about becoming the person who naturally creates the results you want. The choice is yours. You can continue trying to manage time, or you can start creating value. You can continue being busy, or you can start being effective. You can continue following other people's productivity systems, or you can create your own based on what actually matters to you. The strategy is simple. The implementation is straightforward. The results are inevitable. The only question is, are you ready to stop managing time and start creating value? Your future self is waiting for your answer.